In this commentary video, I want to talk about mistakes that people make when they are starting out as an engineer, or people who are already experienced but have made giant mistakes in their career. And the type of mistakes I'm talking about is actually the type that affects your business and the place that you work on. And I don't know if you ever had this experience before where you made a huge mistake, you realized it, and how much it cost your organization, and you felt really, really shitty at the end. And it just ruins your day. So, I mean, for any responsible developer or engineer who are have a lot of future ahead of them and who are very optimistic about their future, when they hit something like that, it really is pretty detrimental to their spirit. So I want to share some of my biggest mistakes in my career and how I felt at that time and how it really felt right now afterwards, looking back. So let's go over some of my biggest mistakes. So the first one was that when I was starting out as a really, junior software engineer at a small company, and we had a website and we have a lot of traffic, obviously, and I was responsible for updating some of the, code on the back end via PHP. And what I realized was that when I wrote the code, I was generating stuff on the server, and that code was kind of personalized. So it's sort of like a personalized experience for each customer, for each user. I sort of wrote that code on the server side, and in the end, that gets rendered to the client side. That means that for every single person who looks at the website, they're gonna get the same experience as the first person who looked at the site when it was cached. The biggest problem was that we have a cache layer, like a CDN layer. So in the end, like every single user was getting the same exact experience. So that was my first big mistake. And the people who work with me, fortunately, they were very understanding and they were mentors, and they were like they understand what I did, and we immediately reverted back. Luckily, we found that early and it wasn't too much of a deal. But I still felt pretty bad because of the fact that I did not understand about server side and client side and about caching in general. So I took that opportunity as a time where I can, try to understand this more, and so I don't make the same mistake next time. So it's important that you learn from your mistake and then prevent yourself from doing the mistake again. And in the future, when you get to more senior level, you can pass on that knowledge to the next generation. So that was my first mistake. Now my second big mistake was that I actually deleted a production database. So that's a huge thing. And we were like a small. I was working at a small organization with a team of like 4 or 5 engineers. So we all get to wear so many hats. So at some point, I was playing with the database for our content management system. So the problem was that there was like a huge bug in the CMS where if we click on a specific button or feature in the CMS admin panel, it will cause the database to jam up, and it will cause like the database to the MySQL database to what do you call it, to heat up, and it will just stuck. It'll get stuck in an endless loop, and the CPU will go to 100%, and you can't even SSH into the server. So that would be like a huge mistake. So what the only way we can get the site unstuck. So in the end, like the website was super slow. It was stuck, and the site went down. It was pretty stressful. So the only way to fix that would be to revert the database back. Luckily, we have the database was on AWS, and we take periodic snapshots every couple of minutes. So we were able to revert the database back to like 20, 30 minutes ago. However, the people who were using the CMS lost all of their progress for the past hour or so. So to me, like I had to communicate that to the people who were using the CMS, and I can imagine they would be pretty pissed if people like lost their work for the last hour. But luckily, the people I work with were super cool, and they understand, and the engineers that I work with at the time understood the issue, and we went ahead and tried to track down what causes that database to get stuck in the CMS and why. So in the end, we kind of fixed it, but not really. But it's a pretty big deal. So that was like the other mistake I made while at work. I feel really bad again. So yeah. And now the third mistake, probably the biggest mistake, and the one that could be made pretty easily, was that I screw up the analytics for the website. So a company uses analytics to predict their revenue, their user traffic patterns, and user behaviors, and they use it to coordinate their budget for the next term. Like to see, hey, how much we can sell the ads for, how many based on how many impressions we have. So the analytics is really, really important. We need it. So I sort of was tasked with implementing the analytics on our site because we recently did a redesign for it, and I kind of screwed up on that, and it causes, in a way, that we were building a single page app. So when you're building a single page app, you have to really remember that if you have a server-side embedded tracking code, when you go to another page, the second page on the SPA, you have to invoke the tracking impression function from the analytics in order to track the impression from client side. So I forgot what I did, but I sort of double tracked. So for some reason, we're getting like double the amount of traffic than we really are getting page views. So it's sort of screw up the whole thing, because I feel really bad because some people, like the managing directors, the editors, they were like, oh, we're doing really well this month. We're getting a ton of traffic for some reason. But like at the end of the month, we figured out there was this bug. It causes it to happen twice. Can you imagine how I felt? I felt really shitty. Like I had to break the news to them that, hey, this whole time we were getting a lot of traffic. Not really, because we were getting double tracked. So imagine like I had to break this news to them, and a lot of editorial staff were like, their salary, their bonuses were tied to the number of impressions that we get, the traffic. So I had to break this news to them. Like in a way, I felt like a total asshole for doing that. Like I did not feel well that whole time. Like that whole week, I felt really shitty. I was contemplating quitting the job because like if they don't fire me, I will fire myself because I felt really bad. So that was that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. And like I could go on and on. There were tons of mistakes I made over the past 7 or 8 years of my career. So what is the story? The lesson from this story? The lesson from this story is that I want to share with you that it's okay to make mistakes, as long as you learn from your mistakes and prevent yourself from making the same mistake in the future. Shit's gonna happen. Like people's gonna make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes, and some of them make bigger mistakes than others. As you can see from my story, I made like huge mistakes, and like looking back from here, like life is gonna go on. You are gonna make mistakes. Luckily, I work with a bunch of people who understand that, and I didn't get fired. But if it was like some other group that I work with, I probably will get fired. But like anything like that happen, I want you to take it as a lesson that you should learn from, so the next time you'll do better. And that's why, like, to this day, I'm really, really careful with everything I put out to make sure that I double check, triple check, things like that. Whenever I deal with similar situations like that I dealt with in the past when I messed up, I take a lot of precaution on that. So yeah, that is going to be my lesson of the day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time.